Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we're going to go over the Midranged Newgate leader that we're getting from the second set of One Piece, Paramount War. He's pretty unique for what he is. He's got a really cool archetype, and so we're going to go over some of the cards for it, as well as have not one but two example deck lists at the end of the video, kind of showing more of like, I'd say like a standard kind of tempo deck, and then more of a kind of aggressive deck, because this leader can kind of do both. So we're just going to go over him himself. So the Midranged Newgate, it is a 4 Emperors and Whitebeard's Pirate. It is a 6k with 6 life, which is not the standard. It's normally like 5k with 5 life, but it does have this effect that says, end of your turn, add 1 card from the top of your life to your hand. So this effect kind of means that, you can be kind of aggressive. Like, you get to draw a card at the end of your turn, which is really nice. Essentially, it's from your life. It also means that like you're a little bit more difficult to take that damage because you are 6k instead of a 5k, so your opponent will have to invest more into doing damage to you. But as the game goes on, you are already losing your own life, which is kind of scary. So you don't lose the game from this effect though. So if you have 0 cards in life, you just don't take anything. You still lose by taking 1 more attack when your life is at 0. So something like this can't let you lose inherently. So that's kind of nice for the deck too. So that's kind of how he works. And let's go over some cards that kind of are in the archetype and enable the leader a little bit more. So I think the most obvious one is the 9-drop Midranged Newgate here we have on the left. It says, on play, up to one of your leaders gains plus 2k until the start of your next turn. Then you cannot add cards from your life area to your hand by your effects during this turn. So this is really strong. This means that you get to stay alive also. So turn 1, 3, 5, and 7. So 4 turns. If you're going first, you'll be taking damage. So let's say your opponent doesn't hit you, you go down to 2. Then you can play this leader, and then you stay at 2, and then you can get the effects from it. So really kind of nice to do that, which is really nice. Dawn times 2 when attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3k power or less, which can be good if they put like a bunch of little blockers, or you have ways to minus DP, which red does inherently. You can get rid of some blockers that are kind of in your way, which is nice. But the on play is really what's really great about this card. It's not leader restricted either, so you could play it in like Star Deck Luffy or Zoro if you want to as well. And it works on both offense and defense. So you get an 8k on offense. So you play this, and then you attack with your leader, and then you're in 8k until the start of your opponent's next turn, which is just very, very strong. So I think that's really good for the deck, and I think kind of a staple for at least more of like the decks that kind of want to go for a longer game, maybe not for more of the aggressive ones. We also do have the 7-drop Ace. On play, give up to 2 of your opponent's characters with minus 3k power during this turn. Then if your leader has Whitebeards in this type, this gains Rush during this turn as well. So 7k Rush is a pretty good standard stat line. That also, given the minus 3k, works really well with the Midranged Newgate leader. So being able to, let's say they have a 6k blocker out, like a Trafalgar Law or something, you could use the Ace, and then if your Newgate's already on the board, you can attack with that and pop the Law. So kind of nice for that. Just helps your blocker removal. And if you are using it to instead like get rid of something, so like even like we're playing against like Usa's Kid and they have their 8-drop Kid, you can use this effect and then it gets minus 3k, so it's a 5k, and then you can swing with this Ace and you can swing with your 6k leader and hopefully try to chip it down, which is nice. We also do have this Marco, who I'm blocking a little bit with my head, but it's essentially a blocker. And then also you may trash 1 card in your hand with Whitebeard Pirates in its name. If you have 2 or less life cards, play this card from your trash rested. So this also isn't a once per turn. As long as you keep pitching cards, you can keep bringing it back as long as you meet the conditions for it. So just having something that's consistently on the board. If you have a bunch of like dead cards in hand, as in like an Ace or Newgate that you can't play and can't counter with, being able to bring this back not only for like the initial block, but also being able to say, okay, next turn I can attack with it if I need to get 1 more swing. I think that can be very strong. So a really cool card for the deck there. And let's go to some of kind of the more supporting characters. So we have Vista, and I think Vista's pretty good outside of this deck too. It just has kind of like the Nico Robin effect, but on an on play of KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3k power or less. So even like on curve, like let's say you go first, you know 1 Dawn, you do nothing. Turn 2, your opponent's definitely not playing anything like 3k, like max is like 4k, right? But most of them are playing like a 1-drop blocker or like maybe a 2-drop killer block or something like that, and you just play Vista and you pop it immediately. So very good. Obviously, this can be combined with cards, including like the Ace. So let's say they have 7 and 3 makes 10. So on your 10 Dawn play, they have a 6k Trafalgar Law blocker. You play the Ace, give it minus 3k, then you play the Vista and you get rid of it. Pretty nice. So good stuff there. We also have the Jozu, which not only is a 2k counter for the deck, but also says if you have 2 or less life cards in your leader, has Whitebeard Pirates in its types, this gains Rush. So obviously it's only 4k, but the flexibility of this card is quite good for what it is. Again, a 2k or a Rush. And then we also have Blenheim. I just needed another card. It's a blocker. It's just fine to have a blocker in the archetype, especially since like late game, like you might need to block like some of your opponent's bigger swings because you're going to be at like 1 or less life by like turn 5 or 6. So it's going to be, you do have to have some defense if you want to kind of go for a longer game. And then lastly, just some events and stages for this. Whitebeard Pirates look top 5. It's kind of like the in 2 years for the Straw Hats, but for the Whitebeard, pretty standard trigger. You get to activate the main effect. So this is, I think, okay for a deck like this that definitely wants to see your 9-drop on curve and kind of help you out there. So I think it's a good card for those. Again, it is a Whitebeard Pirate, so Marco can discard it if you need to, and those kind of scenarios. There's also Seaquake, which is essentially just a worse version of the Vista. If you have Whitebeard Pirates in this type, you get to KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3k power or less. Still a good effect though, going 1 for 1 most of the time, and also trigger give up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters minus 3k power during this turn. So like if your opponent's trying to go for game and they have like a Eustace kid, you trigger this if you hit it, and then they get the minus, and this can like prevent an attack at times. So this is an okay card. I'm not sure if I want to run it yet, but I think it's okay for what it is. There's also this event, You May Be a Fool, but I Still Love You. Main, if you have 3 or less life, you cannot add cards from your hand using your own effects during this turn, cards from your life to your hand. So being able to just prevent you from taking damage is nice. I don't know if it's great. I don't know if it's a great card for the archetype. Unless you're like trying to be like really, really grindy with it, I think you can just do other things. And but you will essentially have a lot more card advantage than your opponent most of the time because you are drawing an extra card every turn. This will shut that off though, so I don't know. And there's also the Moby Dick stage. I don't know how I feel about this yet. It seems neat, but I don't know if it's kind of worth it yet. But if you have 1 or less life cards, you're Aandroidd Newgate, and all your characters gain plus 2k power. It's only during your turn, so I think it'd be bust if it was both turns. But it also has a trigger just to play the card if you see it, so that's kind of nice there. You won't be doing a lot of triggers, though, in your life as Newgate. So that's kind of like the issue with all of these, honestly, is that chances are you will just be drawing your life instead of having your opponent hit them and getting the draw there. So you do have to be kind of wary of that, but I digress. So, but plus 2k is very strong, especially since you have so many rush cards, and it just means that your opponent's going to have to hard block all of your attacks, or they're going to have a hard time getting that big attack going. So those are all the cards I want to talk about specifically, and let's go to my 2 example lists. Going into our deck list, we're going to start off with probably the more standard build, or at least the build that kind of goes into the archetype a little bit more, and it's just the idea of going up into your 9-drop and use that to get a lot of value and try to just help you win the game there. So that's the idea. We're just running most of the Whitebeard Pirate cards as well. We're playing the Marco and the Ace. We're also playing the Moby Dick. I don't know if this card is good yet, honestly. The plus 2k seems really good. The fact that you have to run 4 to see it more consistently is good, and there's not a lot of ways to get them out of hand outside of the Marco. So I think that's kind of okay for what it is. But I don't know. This might be coming out if I don't like it in the deck. But again, plus 2k for everything is quite a big boost. We also have like a tiny 1-drop package. So Otama, Makino, and Tony Chopper. Both these being 2ks are great. Otama being able to give something minus 2k, so your Newgate can potentially pop something bigger, is really cool. And then Tony Chopper again just being a blocker. That means that we're running Curly Dedan just at 2 because I couldn't find room for anything else. If I don't like the Moby Dicks, I'm probably putting in more Curly Dedans and probably more of these 1-drops, but being able to just find a 1-drop, which means you find a 2k counter or a Tony Chopper, is great. This is not a Whitebeard Pirate. That would be really great for the archetype, but it's a Mountain Bandit. Gordon's just great too, so if like you have just too many of the Moby Dicks in hand or just something that's useless, you can just put it to the bottom of your deck and draw 1. So I do think the cycle off the Gordon is great, and again, it's another 2k counter, which is cool. And then we also have Radical Beam. Radical Beam, I think, is really good in this deck. You're going to be down to 2 or less life pretty easily, and then the added benefit of the defense of this is great. So you're always going to have a lot of card advantage compared to your opponent, so this kind of help you out there. Vista, Jozu, I think that's pretty much it. We do like Whitebeard Pirates just to help you find the 9-drop in case you really need it to help survive the next turn. And I think that's all I really want to talk about this version of the deck. So, again, this is probably a more standard version of it, using it to, just gain a lot of card advantage early, get a lot of kind of defensive stuff, and then your 9-drops and your aces are really what's going to start punching in that damage. So there's that one. And then this is more of an aggressive build. Honestly, like, when I play Zoro or like a more aggressive version of Luffy, most of the time the game ends and I have like 4 or 5 cards left in my life, right? Your opponent never wants to attack you personally because they want to, cut you off from cards and make your decisions hard and stuff. So having Newgate, which not only like draws you cards from your life that you're probably not needing anyways, but also is a 6K leader, which means that you're doing, it's a little bit harder on the attack side too. It means that you can be very, very aggressive with this deck. So this is just sample. I haven't tested this one out as much as the previous one, but this is kind of like more of a Rush Zoro list. We're not even caring about the 9-drop because we really don't think we'll get there for it to be anything meaningful. I'd rather play an Ace or a Zoro to attack and swing than kind of anything else. Definitely leaning more into the Curly Dadan. I honestly think this is like one of the best cards in the set. It's just really great. Just the amount of 1-drop red cards that you can find with this is really good. There's just the Namis, like finding Dadan to find Nami to find any of your pieces is great. Other Nami is fine in this leader, just for the Dawn management. Chopper's great. Makino's good. Otama's good. The fact that Makino can also be used to boost. So let's say you have one of these Namis out, because you almost always will. You can, for 1, instead of giving it a 1k boost, you can, for 1, give it a 3k boost. So that can sometimes come up if you need to as well. Nico Robin just for some removal and just like a really good 3-drop in the deck too. Jozu as well for the defense and the rush part. If you want to bump this up to 4, I could probably see that. And just kind of everything else. I think this list is pretty disgusting when it goes off. It puts off a lot of pressure from what I've tested, and I definitely want to test it out more. But I think something like this can just be better than Zoro, because Zoro just normally just loses by taking all 5 life in 1 turn or something, and this deck just like, you know what, I'm going to just keep drawing from my life naturally, make it so my opponent is really on a clock, or at least I'm on a clock, and just do a lot of damage. So anyways, those are my 2 lists that I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about them and any changes that you guys would make, as well as any other leaders you want me to cover for set 2. So again, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.